Hey guys, and welcome to You Better Believe It. It's Josh. I'm Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
We do the Stuff You Should Know podcast.
That's right.
And here's our little news show that we do.
It's the internet clubhouse for you.
That's right.
So Chuck, let's dive into the internet and splash down in a Bloomberg article on the rising cost, the insanely rising cost of burial plots in New York City.
Yeah, and we've covered quite a few dead type topics, from best thing to do with the dead body to coffins,
Green burials,
and headstones recently.
We've done how dying works.
Yeah, we've kind of run the gamut. But
what's the worst way to die?
Yeah,
we've done just countless death episodes.
We're obsessed with it, you could say. But apparently dying in New York, if you're interested in getting buried in New York, is becoming quite a problem. One, because about 1,000 New Yorkers die every week.
Every second.
Not quite every second. Every week, though, and Manhattan is an island, and they can build up, but until they start building mausoleums up.
Which they're doing in Hong Kong.
Which makes sense there, of course. But unless you want to be buried in New Jersey or Connecticut or someplace, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, this article pointed out that if you go up the river a couple hours, there's about 100 cemeteries for you to pick from. And not even a couple hours. I think just right outside of the 5 boroughs.
Yeah,
you can get a cemetery plot for like $500.
Yeah, it says less than 3 hours from the GWB. That's the George Washington Bridge.
So when you're in the 5 boroughs, though, it's just outrageous. Like this article pointed out one cemetery, Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, near Park Slope. So you would expect...
It's very lovely.
This is probably where Hodgman's going to be buried, right?
We can only hope.
There's a cemetery plot, a mausoleum costs about $320,000, which I'm not astounded by. I mean, it's a 756 square foot mausoleum.
Yeah, that's an apartment in New York.
Yeah, it is. But it points out that across the street in 2009, you could get an 1,800 square foot home for $245,000.
Yeah, of course, they said that's worth about $1 million today.
Right.
And they also point out that a former mayor, Ed Koch, could be one of the last New Yorkers to be buried in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't think that's quite right, but he said he prepaid in 2008 at $20,000 5 years before he died at the Trinity Church Cemetery. But he said, I quote, the thought of having to go to New Jersey was so distressing to me.
Even after I died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
Good for you, Ed Koch.
Yeah, and funeral
costs.
How am
I doing?
Was that his line?
Uh-huh.
How am I doing? And funeral costs, period, are just up a lot. $7,000 in 2012, and I imagine it's even higher now.
Oh, it's going up.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Every second.
So that's depressing. So let's move on to something happy.
It is depressing when you can't even afford to die.
Yeah. And people are choosing, the article points out, cremation like never before.
Yeah, but even still, like getting spots in places where urns are held.
Right.
Those can go for quite a bit of money, too, depending on where you are.
I say scatter.
Yeah, scatter. Take up no space whatsoever. You don't even need the urn.
Exactly.
You just throw the urn over your shoulder when you're done.
So on to a happier story. We both love steak, and I like it on a really hot grill, or Josh's favorite method I've tried a few times in the cast iron skillet.
Pan frying, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. But a chef named Sam Bompas, and granted, this is a bit of a stunt, but
just a tad.
He got it together to actually grill over lava, molten lava.
Yeah.
And it worked really well.
Yeah, apparently the intense heat, I think it's up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
It just completely sears and cooks the outside of the steak, but keeps the inside nice and juicy.
Man.
And the guy was cooking like medium rare steaks.
Yeah.
Which are exactly what you want.
Yeah, and he said this is the kind of heat that chefs dream about. Because, in a commercial kitchen, you might get 750 degrees is going to be your hottest.
Yeah.
But 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, the one problem is it takes, I think, between 60 and 70 hours for the furnace to melt all the rock into lava.
Yeah, because that's what he's cooking on, melted basaltic rock.
Yeah, molten lava.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And basically, if you wanted to do this story in broad strokes, a restaurateur from London talked a pair of volcanologists at Syracuse University into letting him use their simulated lava flow machine.
Yeah, they figured out how to make synthetic lava, which is pretty cool unto itself.
And he recently announced that he figured out the logistics of getting their simulated lava machine over to London. Right. So if you can get 499 friends together, he will charge you as much as he possibly can to cook steaks for you.
Yeah.
At a party.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
I'm willing to try it, my friend. So maybe people can send in money and send us to London to eat a molten lava grilled steak.
Okay. We could start a Kickstarter.
Sounds good. Hey, and didn't you want to read a couple of comments here for our video?
Yeah, let me grab one. Oh, this is a good one.
That's a good one. Wow, look at it go.
Turn invisible.
All right, so what does it say?
Well, it said, before I blew it away, this was from Juwaffle, and it was on our Porn Sniffing Dogs episode.
Right.
And Juwaffle says, who the hell is in the background? And
what's he talking about?
I don't know. There's nobody in the background.
The background of our show?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's strange.
It's strange.
Is he watching the right video?
Maybe.
All right. You got another one?
Yeah, I grabbed two just now.
Okay.
This one was from Trevor Siemens. He says, I preferred the more chill studio show notes. We can't do anything about it, Trevor.
Yeah, we've learned that if you try to do something on the internet, about half the people will like it and about half the people won't.
Yeah, because there are other comments saying, like, this new intro and title's rad. So
yeah, so it's either rad or you hate it, and we think it's rad, so we're going to do it.
So if somebody says, is this new stuff rad?
Yeah, the answer is, you better believe it is.